So I've been working on my fasting protocol for quite some time, and I'm always looking for the most efficient way to make this work for me. And just talking to other health and wellness experts to see what supplements to take, what's the timing of the food, the proper mixes of different foods to give you the best chance. If you're going to fast, do it right. And that's what I want to talk about today. I've done a ton of episodes on this already, but I just keep on learning new things and I want to share it with my audience. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So today we're going to talk about fasting. And I've been doing this for about 2 years, really trying to hone this in. I've been doing intermittent fasting, tightening my fasting window to 6 to 7 eating hours, and then 17 to 18 hours of fasting. And like I just mentioned, I talked to all these different health and wellness experts who do this for a living and really tightened up my game of what kind of stuff to be eating. And when I do have meals, it's very important to have protein, fats, and fibers all in the same meal, not separated out. When you're drinking anything, it's got to be obviously your electrolyte water is the best. Watching out for your potassium, because when you do longer fasting, your body actually holds on to potassium more. So you shouldn't be taking any high potassium electrolyte or supplement drink. And then anything you put in, either tea or coffee, it's got to be black. There can't be any calories into it. All this is just to hone in and tighten up your fasting game. If you do cheat a little every now and then, it doesn't matter. If you're into fasting and you want to add to your routine, it's becoming a daily habit. You can afford to mess around a little bit. In fact, one of the things I started doing was chewing gum. Some of the gum has like 5 calories in it just because they put a little bit of sweetener in there. And I can't sit there and chew stevia gum or monk fruit gum or anything like that. But today I want to talk about the newest thing I started adding, which is really what they teach you from the beginning when you start doing intermittent fasting. And that's what I highly recommend. When you start out, it's just do intermittent fasting. Don't try any of the longer fasting stuff until you've worked up to it. And for intermittent fasting, it's basically you set your eating window. It could be a 10-hour eating window. It doesn't matter. And the goal is to shrink your eating window as tight as you can that feels good to you. Obviously, work with your health and wellness professional to make sure that you're not missing any vital nutrients, or if you're on some kind of medication, then you shouldn't be doing this. But if you're okay and you're green light to do it and you start tightening your window down, start with 10-hour eating window, maybe shrink it to 8 hours. I think for a lot of doctors say for women not to go lower than that, just for hormonal reasons. You can talk to other health and wellness professionals if you want. And then for guys, they always seem to think it's okay to go even a little less. For me, I just kind of, talking with my doctor and then doing it how I felt, I've really felt that, 6 to 7 hours is perfect for me. And sometimes mostly 7, just because the amount of calories I need and protein, I need that extra time. So I've been doing that for 2 years. Only drink black coffee, only electrolyte water, and I'll eat within my time window. And then I'll get my 18 to 17 hour fasting after dinner all the way through the morning. And it's been working great for me. And then I've ventured more into longer fasting. I've talked about that on my show before. And I found what works for me is the 36-hour fast. I just feel great. I get great results on it. And, my blood work was just out of control. My doctor couldn't believe it when I started doing it, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. And I have done my longest fast ever was 72 hours. And it actually was pretty easy, but you definitely have to work up to that. And I definitely won't recommend doing that too often. So for the 36 hours, I do it once a month. I feel like I'm getting some autophagy, cleaning out the cellular debris, and they call it zombie cells. I feel my testosterone kind of ramping up a little bit. And not only that, I see the results, right? Flatter stomach, a little bit leaner, and then boom, go right back into my normal routine. So one of the things that I've just picked up on, and like I said, it's something that they teach you in the beginning, but for some reason it didn't stick with me. And that is when you do have your fasting window, for me, 7 hours, and you decide how many meals you have. I've learned from recently just watching some other social influencer who does fasting a lot, and he's like 70. He's been doing this like his whole life, talking about doing the least amount of meals possible. You hear people doing one big meal and that's it for the whole day. For me, I'm more focused on getting that protein, right? I don't think my body can absorb 170 grams of protein in one hit. So that's why I have to space it out. But doing like the typical bodybuilder diet where you have 3 meals and a couple snacks in there, I've learned to push it more to 3 meals. And now that I've been dropping weight, I need less calories and less protein, to where I've separated into 2 meals now. And I do a 70 gram and a 70 gram for protein and get a total of about 1,500 calories. And I can push that into 2 meals. And the reason behind that is, what does it matter if you have the same amount of protein, the same amount of calories, whether you do it in 4 splits or 2 splits or whatever, as long as it's in that 6 to 7 hours, why do you care? And I've learned that from, talking to people who are in the CGM business, those glucose monitors where you pop it under your tricep. You can watch it on your app, NutriSense. I've had them on my show, and being able to see what your glucose levels are doing and your insulin is doing. And I've learned when you're putting something down into your stomach, it triggers an insulin hormonal response. And that's what insulin is used through the body to, once you start digesting stuff, to get its nutrients to your cells. That insulin response basically favors glucose, sugars, getting those nutrients to your body. At no point can you burn any fat during this process. So the more times you put something into your mouth, hits your stomach, your body triggers this insulin response. And yes, the higher sugary content foods and processed foods have a higher insulin spike, and it takes longer for that insulin to drop, where your body can start using fat utilization again. And so it's better to have high protein, fiber with your meals, low glycemic carbs if you're going to have any, where that insulin response is just a little and quicker to get rid of, but it still spikes it. So if you can not snack during your fasting window, that's more opportunities that your body's going to be burning fat. And since I started implementing this a month ago, the results are incredible. Like, my normal weigh-in on Monday is now 208, 207 versus kind of 212, 213, which I've always played with because I'm the guy that always likes to have my social life. So I have fun on my weekends, weigh in heavy on Monday, clean as can be. And on Friday, I finish off the day and then back to the weekend grind. And that's the whole reason I started this show, is to prove you don't have to lose your social life. You just got to play by certain rules. And now this is just another thing to tighten up that game. So since I started doing that, I break it up into 3 meals, like I said. Now, since I've dropped all this weight, I've done only 2 meals, and it's just exponentially getting better with less work. That's my whole thing, is to do the least amount of work possible, being over 40, to get the greatest results. And then if you want to biohack, I want to get a little bit bigger, for summer if you're a guy, then I'll put in a couple more workout days in there. I'm happy right now doing the minimum just to prove to my audience that this works. So try that out. If you can, when you do have your 2-3 meals, no snacking in between, finishing those meals as fast as you can, because an hour long drawn out breakfast, lunch, or dinner is light and day different from cramming everything in 10 to 30 minutes. And I've seen the results of that too. Obviously play with what your body, you don't want to have a stomach ache from eating too much food, but I think for a lot of guys, it's no problem. We're already scarfing this stuff down anyways. When I do have a new client and they're trying out the fasting routine, definitely longer fasting is wait till you've mastered intermittent fasting, see how great the results are for that. And then if you want to play with doing a longer fast, you can, and, stretch it out to 24 hours, maybe 30, then 36. And like I said, I really don't see too much point going farther than that. Definitely talk to your doctor or health and wellness professional before doing that. But intermittent fasting, anyone can do it right now. So if you're interested, try it out. Always go on Google, check out those macro calculators just to have an idea of how much calories you should be eating, especially if you want to lose weight. And for me, like I said, I was at 2,000 calories, came down to 18. And now at this point, it's telling me if I still want to rapidly lose weight and get that six pack on, mine is around 1,500. And then it stops there because you can't go too much farther or else your body goes into starvation mode. So for me, my set point of 1,500 calories, 150, 160 grams of protein. And right now I'm doing it in 2 different meals and then fasting the rest of the time. So final thoughts is I can't stop snacking. That's all I think about. Some of the things that help out are a little tiny bit of apple cider vinegar with some water. And that's always been like my go-to for curbing an appetite. Chewing gum, like I said, technically it's some calories, but 5 calories, I don't think that's putting that much of an insulin response versus how much help it's given me versus not wanting to snack. So I think for me, the benefits outweigh the cons there. And then black coffee, like my thing's coffee, some people is tea. As long as I can have black coffee, oh man, I dream of it now. So I usually try to do 1 black coffee, and then I have a mushroom coffee that I do that's like 5 calories. But on those longer fasting days, I'll do the second coffee, no problem. So hopefully that helps. If you get anything from anything I said, just intermittent fasting, try to tighten your window down a little to the least amount of hours with the least amount of times you're putting food in your mouth. And it kind of makes you adhere to how many calories you're supposed to be having anyways, because there's less chances to have your body get primed and ready to start snacking again, but you're not allowed to. If you can hold true to your times that you say you're going to eat whatever you want. Even at first you're exceeding the calories that you were supposed to have. I promise you, it's hard to shove all this food down. And as long as you're doing protein, fat, and fiber all together, it's a slow digestion. It leaves you fuller longer. And it's just been working out great. So always remember, do stuff that works good for you. If fasting is not for you, you feel terrible, cut it. There's a million different things. And that's what I do. I have a million different tools in my toolbox to help people out. This is just one of my favorite ones that I've been doing for the over 40 audience. So I'll end it with that, and check out my show notes. I just started a new Facebook group. I'll throw in a link to that just to talk with my community, see what questions people have out there, give me good ideas for episodes. And then I always do a 15-minute free Zoom consultation for everyone just to see if I can point you in the right direction. Other than that, have a great day. Hey, everyone. I would just like to thank each and every one of you for supporting my show. My numbers over the years have just been growing and growing on this podcast. One thing that could really help me and something you could do as a listener would be go onto iTunes and leave me a 5-star review. Any other podcast service like Spotify and Podchaser is also great, but iTunes is really where the magic happens for us being podcasters. Thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next episode. If you'd like a little bit of help checking out your diet and your current routine, I'd be happy to help. I always do a free 15-minute Zoom consultation for anyone, no strings attached, just to see if I can help point you in the right direction. So if you're interested, check out the show notes. The link is at the top.